RnB.
I'm Ronnie.
And my name is Beni.
And
Today we are in this forest. It's another forest, and yeah. Oh, what do you feel like we should talk about today?
At the moment I'm just thinking that will it start to rain or not?
Will God's vengeance pour down on us?
Yeah.
But you know, once again the clouds are releasing what they have been holding in. So I mean, they need to do that. They need to do that.
Exactly.
Always, you know, release whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
But no, actually, what fears?
Fears, yes.
Fears. Fears could be a good topic for this day.
Yes. Fear is a big topic, so I mean we will only touch upon it in the amount of time that we allot ourselves.
For sure. I mean, it's actually. I mean, I believe I could start by kind of saying that a big part of my life, especially my 20s, early 30s, I definitely was living through fear. I made my decisions based upon what I fear and based upon what I don't want in my life. Obviously completely unconscious of what I'm doing. Whereas nowadays, actually yesterday I had a very, very good conversation with my dear friend who is into gene keys. If anyone is into gene keys, that's a very interesting topic. But anyway.
No idea what that is.
No, but according to gene keys and my gene keys, I am driven by my desires.
Now I understand.
Yeah. Some people are driven by fears, and I mean, it's kind of what motivates you. For me, it's actually my desires that motivate me. So now I'm, you know, diving into my desires and really like exploring that and through that.
Yeah.
But the topic was fears. Obviously, I am still afraid of all kinds of things, and I notice, you know, I can observe whenever fears arise.
Yeah.
Should I say? Tell an example, or do you have something? What do you fear, Ronnie?
Well, fear is something, first of all, that control our lives all the time, you know, and fear comes in so many different forms. You know, we can speak of fear in many different forms, but they are all a type of fear, and fear basically takes us away from possibilities. It freezes us when we should move. All these kinds of things. Of course, there is. One could argue that there are also healthy fears, but at the same time, fear is something that we're much too easily familiar with. We should let go of fears more and more.
I mean, I agree. Yeah.
For my part, in the book that is being written, as I've mentioned at some point, writing a book called To Preserve Life. There, I use an example of a stage fright, and how to overcome that kind of fear. That is another kind of fear, but it's we are projecting it upon ourselves, and by projecting this fear upon ourselves, or now let's say myself, I go away from being present in the moment. Fears exist, I would say, in the past and in the future. In the present moment, in this moment, there is no fears, because fears come from us thinking that will I manage to do this, or will I remember this, or what will happen if this happens, or then it can be in the past, like for instance, I used to do this so well. Can I do it again like that? You know, now again I'm talking about, for instance, an artist who is performing on stage.
Yeah.
Usually for an artist, fears come from the future, because we are thinking about will we be able to perform and such things.
Exactly. And I mean, yeah, it goes, at least, you know, I'm thinking, you know, fears, it is a mechanism for self-preservation.
Yes, it is that also.
I mean, it has a very practical function actually. I mean, obviously, if you encounter a bear in the woods, you don't know what to do, you should lay down dead. I think that's what you should do.
Yes,
but anyway, you know, it's kind of this kind of primitive stuff where it actually comes from. But in the modern age, there's actually, yeah, as you say, there's very few situations where the fear is actually, I mean, self-preservation in the sense that if you talk about stage fright, for example, there I see that, okay, I go up on the stage, I make a complete fool out of myself. So obviously the fear there is, again, self-preservation. I don't want to make a fool out of myself. I don't want to, you know, mess this up. I want it to go as well as possible.
Yeah, but you are projecting it beforehand.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're in the future.
Yeah. You're in the future and you're narrowing your field of vision. That is what happens, definitely.
Yes.
You're not open to possibilities. Whereas, I mean, yeah, for sure. This with stage fright is actually a pretty good example, I feel, somehow. Because then again, for sure, if you go up on stage and you mess it up, there again, it's just a matter of how you deal with it. Can you joke with yourself in front of the whole audience and be like, you know, just keep on keeping on, even though you kind of messed up.
Since I brought up this stage fright, I can say that I went through that at one point in my life, and it was something where I noticed that. But basically, it happened so that I never used to be afraid, but then because of wrong technique and such things with the voice, I had a blackout in the middle of an aria, and when I was singing a song, you know, solo song, and I kind of wake up 30 seconds later, and it's like, where am I? Who am I? What am I doing here? And my colleague was next to me, and I asked him that what am I supposed to do? And he was just, I don't know, you know, because it was a modern production, and none of us knew like the others music. So and then I just heard that the conductor is shouting something, and I just, you know, went with it. The orchestra had stopped playing, you know, it was sold out, everything was, you know, it was a full hall. This kind of thing brings, you know, like a big traumatic experience. You don't want to be there.
No.
I can say, but but then I understood that, okay, my body, my voice is tired of the bullshit that I'm doing. You know, I cannot do this anymore. I'm tired of pushing, I'm tired of faking it. So I need now to learn, or then stop doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
This was nature telling me that, okay, enough.
But by learning, would you actually say you need to just face your fear? Because isn't that how you kind of overcome your fears, you know?
Yeah, but
because, you know, in the situation where you are kind of like, oh fuck, I'm so scared of this, and I don't really want to do it, the way you overcome it is actually by doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but it wasn't really fear then. It was just, you know, perhaps it was a certain kind of fear because I knew that what I was doing wasn't really, it wouldn't hold water, and maybe in that sense, you know, I procrastinated.
Procrastinated.
Yeah. What a word.
Yeah, I know. There's an R there in a little bit weird place.
In that way that I didn't change things, because I could have done so before and perhaps avoided, or most likely avoided this thing. But it happened, and what happened after that was, first of all, an understanding. Yeah, my body is saying enough. Now I can't do this anymore in this way. I have to learn if I want to do it.
Yeah.
The other thing that happened to me was that suddenly I developed a great fear of going on stage. And I was all the time thinking that, will I remember the words? Will I remember the music? You know, all these kinds of things.
Yeah.
And I had never had that before, because before I used to, you know, I sang Ramfis in Aida, which is a big role, and I just walked in, I just enjoyed. But then suddenly I had all these fears, and it was really difficult because suddenly, just without warning, I would forget the words because I was so afraid to forget them. So then I forgot them, and then
let me ask a question. In that situation where you are where you were on stage, did you have troubles like actually being just present? Like you would kind of, you know, zone out into the future and being like, oh fuck, I'm gonna fuck up. Like I'm so afraid I'm gonna. Exactly.
And this is what I'm getting to now. It's I realized that if I am not present in the moment, then I am not present behind what I do and what I say and what I sing. And in such a way, it doesn't mean anything. So I created a mantra for myself that allow me to be present in my body, to exist in the now. And this I repeated to myself before going on stage every time. And I actually did Moomin Papa in a Moomin opera, and I did this there. You know, I was in a big suit, you know, like really tall, even taller than I am now normally. But but I did that mantra before going on there. You know, and I managed to start to function again on stage like before. Not as well as before, but still better. And then I had my exam in the academy, which I waited a long time to do. But then when I finally did it, I did it like just because, you know, I had to. If I'm going to be a singer, I need to sing.
Obviously.
So you know, otherwise I'm not a singer.
Yeah.
And I wrote a text about this also, which many of my colleagues found very refreshing, because I admitted openly my fears.
Exactly.
I said that I've been afraid,
but
a singer who doesn't sing is not a singer, so I have to sing. Now what happened in the easiest song in this exam was that suddenly I noticed my fears rising again, and I can physically feel how I am here somewhere in front of myself.
Exactly.
Oh, now I blocked it. But I am here somewhere in front of myself, and then calmly I just took steps back to allow my, what to say, astral being to go back into my physical being. You know, and to stay behind the music and just let it come.
Exactly.
And after this, then I had this thing where it went fine. But after that, I had to accept other things happened, and I had to accept that maybe I will not be a singer, maybe I will not sing, you know, because the voice didn't work, it didn't function as it used to.
Exactly. I want to come in with one thing here, because I think it's very interesting, because music and singing, it actually exists only in the present. Like, sure, you can make a recording, but then again, when you play it, it only exists now. And sure, you can have a CD, but it doesn't play when you just have the CD. The actual music. So like mantras, singing, and music is actually a very, very good tool for being present. But obviously, you need to focus on the music. So of course, you can, you know, start focusing on other things, but then you forget the present. But music is an amazing tool for this, because as I said, it only exists in the present.
And the music is, you know, our job is to open ourselves for it. And this brings me to my next realization then, when I admitted that, okay, I might not sing, I might maybe need to do something else. Then after that, I had this I let go of the ego, the false ego,
Yeah.
and you know, we have a lot of ego.
Of course.
So yeah, I let go of that. You know, singers usually have a lot of ego because there is a lot of bullshitting going on. You know, because nobody knows what they're supposed to do.
I think all adults are just guessing. It's more or less educated guesses. So, yeah. As a kid, I used to think adults know what they're doing. Then I realized at some point, nobody actually knows what they're doing. It's just more or less educated guessing.
Yes, and I think that the word adult is completely unnecessary also. Yeah, well, in any case, what I was going to say here, and it looks like it doesn't, the rain won't come now. Yeah, so I let go of the ego. And the first thing that I experienced was that I am being breathed through. I'm being breathed through. And then my next understanding or realization was that, well, if I'm being breathed through, I must also be sung through. And then singing stopped being something that I have to do, that I have to perform, that I have to, you know, that is pressure, that is you know, nerves and stuff like this. Suddenly it became something that I opened myself for and let come through me. And then, you know, there were other things, like, for instance, I understood about music, and we were not supposed to talk about music now. We can have a separate episode for that, maybe. But I then understood that music is it's like a divine language, and it already is. You know, it's in the vibrations all around us, and when music becomes something real, you know, for a singer or a musician, it means that the vibrations that are coming through us, the breath is blended with our own essence of being, and that creates the what they call the voice color. That means that there is one specific person who is singing there, and not just a generic baritone or a generic soprano or you know, whatever. And also other things came from this. I became very focused on being present at all times, and since my work and my own processes and my own development was driving me along this path of self-development and self-awareness, that of course helped me a lot with the voice as well. Otherwise, I might not be you know, a voice builder now, and also a singer and such things. Still, I might have done something else completely.
One thing I want to kind of go back to that you said was that you admitted you are afraid.
Yeah.
And this is something that has been a very, very significant change for me personally, how I have dealt with my own fears.
Yeah.
I can't exactly pinpoint when I kind of started it, but it was this whole process of waking up and yada yada yada. But at some point I realized that actually one of the first realizations I had was that I don't want to show people that I don't know certain things, that I'm a beginner. I was afraid of showing my vulnerability and that I don't know something. And this is the reason why I usually, you know, I started practicing new things always alone. So that there's no witnesses, there's no observer, no one can judge me. But instead what I do nowadays is that I admit, I don't know what I'm doing. This is new to me. I might need some help. Like, and you know, starting a new job, for example. I mean, even if it is the easiest job in the world, nowadays, like at least the first week, I'm gonna be like, I'm new here. I'm not sure how this works. I might fuck things up. And you know, it just blows that whole kind of resistance out of the water where, you know, I need to kind of, be a little bit like, fuck, I hope I don't fuck up. And like, just be like very okay with, you know, I might fuck this up. And then also, I was speaking a little about work, but for me in close personal relationships, unfortunately, some of my earlier relationships, I was in them because I was too afraid to actually, you know, not be in them. Not so comfortable talking about that, but what I do nowadays is that again, when I realize that there is something, I notice a resistance, and usually it is some fear that gets triggered from the conversation or the situation. And again, what I do is that I just announce, now I notice this sensation that I think I'm a little bit afraid, or I'm very uncomfortable, and I just start diving into that. And then it's okay. I don't need to be this perfect human being. So don't be afraid of being afraid. That's also like you shouldn't be afraid of being afraid. That it's totally okay to be afraid. And for me, one of the biggest things how to actually deal with my fears is to accept and just announce, tell people. And it's not that I want help with it, it's just to ease my own anxiety about it. Because otherwise, if I keep that with me, I'm just gonna I just want to hide, I don't want to say anything, everything narrows down. But then again, if I instead embrace that, I see it as a gift. Fuck, I noticed this, I'm a little bit afraid now, this is uncomfortable. And I just say it. It just releases. It's just a release, and it's so much easier to be, and then to actually go behind the fear. Like, what is it there really? Like, there is some, and it's not always easy, and it's something that also, I mean, be compassionate with yourself. You don't need to force yourself to look behind your fears. It'll come.
Fear is a very interesting and big topic, and it controls our whole lives if we let it.
It does.
And it's very important to be, first of all, honest to yourself. As you said, now it has brought you freedom when you are. One thing also that I want to touch a little bit upon is that fear is quite often thought-based, even thought-based emotions. And with this I mean that they are not emotions that we really feel, they are emotions that we think and then we feel them through our thoughts. So we identify ourselves with our fears. And as we may or may not have talked about, we identify ourselves more with our suffering than with anything else. I think in last episode.
We've spoken about it in some episode, for sure.
And this is then again fear. We let ourselves be controlled by fear, and as I said, fear it comes in very many forms. But fear does not exist in the present. And I can say another thing which I experienced, and which is also mentioned in the book. The book is not about myself, my own being, but there are parts of me in all the characters there, because everything that I speak about and are that I bring up is something that I've experienced in some way or form myself. That is also with my teaching. It's if I coach somebody towards self-awareness or something, it's all based on my own experiences.
I have to just comment on that I really enjoy. I think one of the only things I actually truly to 100% trust, not even 100%, but close to 100%, is my own direct experience. That is something I can honestly say is the truth. And obviously it is the truth to me, but it is much more the truth than something I read or something that someone tells me, because that is all second-hand information, and it's going to be distorted. And obviously my own direct experience is also a distortion, but it is as close to the pure experience that I can get.
And this I can just squirrel.
Squirrel.
With this, I can also just mention that when I work with somebody and how I coach, how I teach, and also my own way of life is exactly this. I have 3 pillars, and the first one is knowledge. We get knowledge from somewhere. You know, we can get it from a book, we can get it from another person, we can get it from parents,
Get a
friends.
download from the universe.
Yes. And the thing that we do then is that we think that we understand this knowledge,
Wow.
but we don't. So after we get knowledge, then we need to experience that through our own body, which is why I'm very, very much, when I work with somebody or when I work with myself, very, very self-reflective. You know, it's about your experiences.
Yeah.
What do you experience when you put this knowledge through your own body?
Precisely.
And then by experiencing things, we get the third pillar, which is understanding. And understanding then can be on many different levels depending on the depth of our experience. And I think that this is the only way actually to learn something if we want to learn something. This is my method and the 3 pillars, which I think is essential. If
Exactly. It's an interesting kind of structure, and what brings to my mind is something that I stumbled upon some years ago, which is that, you know, my experiences, there's emotions involved in that, and as long as I am emotionally attached to an experience or an outcome, it won't really become wisdom. Like you speak about knowledge or understanding, I see it as more as, you know, when I kind of have accepted the emotional part of an experience, then the knowledge from that experience, then it turns into wisdom. Because if I am very strong, especially if I'm very strongly attached to whatever happened, I'm always going to see through that filter. So then when I actually, you know, deal with the emotional part of it, then I can actually learn from the experience. It's funny that it's kind of similar. It touches like on the same stuff, like, but a slight difference. Very, very awesome.
And you know, we experience things also through different words and in different ways. So it's always about how does the individual perceive things and in what words. But basically, they all lead in the same direction, which is towards freedom, towards possibility, opportunity, freedom from fear. I mentioned earlier that I wanted to tell about an experience which is also mentioned in the book and which I experienced personally, and you know, it's kind of putting my own, at that time, stupidity out there. But it's also something that, you know, most people would react like I did. So I will just tell about it briefly. I was on a big cruise ship, and I was sitting there having a beer, enjoying. When there's this little kid, you know, a little boy. He comes, and he goes to this where there are like bars, you know, and the sea is underneath and so on. And
it's like a fence.
Basically.
I was thinking about pull-up bars first. Then I was thinking about
no.
bars where you drink. And then I realized, it's a fence, kind of, maybe. What it's a
fence,
okay.
And I mean, it wasn't a straight drop to the sea, but it was like, you know, high up. You know, there was some deck maybe underneath and so on, but it was just then water, you know. So the kid goes there. And I noticed my own mentation going like, oh, he's alone? Where are his parents? Then, you know, the kid is like playing there. Suddenly the kid is on the other side of the bars, just like going around there. And I was like, oh my God, what's he doing? Where are his parents? What should I do? You know, and I'm alone there, and this kid is. I was just thinking that, okay, well, should I go and pick him up, or what should I do? And he's just like playing there completely oblivious to any fears or anything like that. And I'm just like, you know, just, you know, and then suddenly a guy who must be his father comes and says, yeah, there you are. Would you like some ice cream? And I said, yeah, let's go and have ice cream. And then they go.
Yeah.
And I'm just like sitting there, you know, like,
You're in complete shock.
yeah, and I'm just realizing that if I would have been a parent, for instance, now then, I would have been projecting my fears upon that kid, and he would most likely have fallen.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and if it would have been me in that state, I would have fallen. But this kid, he didn't have any fears. He wasn't like, you know, frozen by these fears. So he's just like there and like keeping his you know, mind together. Okay, well I you know, I don't want to fall there, so I'll just you know, I'll hold on to this and like that. You know, and the guy, the father, didn't seem to care at all. He was just like very calm.
Yeah.
And I was very grateful to this father. I was just like this is how you know, if I would have been that parent, or the, you know, I would have fucked things up, to say the least. So you know, it's good to have a rational fear of things. You know, you don't want to test fate in a sense. You know, often when something bad happens, we often help ourselves. You know, we make those things happen quite often. I would say more often than not. But I just realized that my fear froze me, whereas the boy didn't care, and I was really grateful for this and happy to get this experience to understand this thing, because it helped me also to let go of more of my fears. And you know, this also brought me to mind, for instance, when you see this kind of medieval ship, like for instance there is one in Stockholm, and there is this land bridge that goes over the ship, and the ship is really, you know, it's stupidly tall. Yeah. You know, tall and narrow. So it's not a, you know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that this is going to capsize as soon as you put it out into the wind. But apparently they didn't understand that. So but in any case, this land bridge is very, you know, it's quite narrow. It didn't usually have any ropes. No. Like nowadays we have walls built. Yeah, and there was just like the sea underneath, like this straight drop. Yeah. And people were just like running over, you know, carrying barrels and things. And I was just thinking that, okay, if those like adventurers would have lived in our time, you know, and those ships would have sailed in our time, we wouldn't have explored anything, because everybody would have been too afraid to cross the land bridge.
Yeah, I know. And I have to tell you this, because when I lived in the Åland Islands, I traveled with those ferries quite a bit. There was one time when I came from Turku to Långenäs, and it's very windy. And they're trying to, you know, fucking park the boat where it's supposed to be, and then they are trying to put the thing to the hole in the boat so that we can exit, and they try and
drill a hole in the boat.
And you know, it's like I'm standing there and I'm looking, it's like a 40 centimeter jump. And then they're like, yeah, sorry, like this doesn't work, like you have to travel to Stockholm, and then tomorrow you can come to Mariehamn, like you will get free food and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, seriously, just give me a paper where I can sign this is my responsibility, and I'll jump to 40 centimeters. If I die, I won't hold you accountable for it. And they're just like, no, it's not possible. It's not possible. I'm just like, are you serious? Yeah, this is the world we live in, where like they fucking fear a 40 centimeter jump. So whatever, this just came to my mind. And actually, no, I notice I have a hard time staying present because I'm a little bit cold. So I will do like a few push-ups just to generate some heat. Because it's very interesting. Because I really noticed that it's difficult to stay present, because I'm just noticing that I'm cold, and I'm just thinking, I will get even more cold, and maybe I will get a flu or something. But I mean, I won't. I know I won't. But I don't enjoy being cold.
You have to think of it that being cold now is a choice. It's like pain.
Yeah, it kind of is. And actually, when it is cold, I noticed that, instead of, again, if I tense up, if I if I start, doing this and tensing up, then the cold actually feels very cold.
Yeah.
If again I just
Exactly.
just ease into it. And it's like, what? Was it cold? Yeah, sure, it was a little bit cold. I still feel the sensation, but it's not overwhelming. Yeah.
Cold showers help.
Oh, they definitely do. Cold exposure is so good. It is.
And then that, I mean, it's cold when we do it, but after that, the body is much more warm.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely. Yeah.
What else can we say about fears? We can say countless things about fears. Maybe you want to tell about some specific experience you had, or some fears that is vexing you, or something, maybe something that is present.
One thing I was kind of thinking about earlier, which in some sense I feel it is part of this whole fear thing. In Swedish you can say that man målar fan på väggen.
Yeah.
So you're kind of the literal translation would be that you paint the devil on the wall. But I see it as manifesting the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And it's a tricky thing, because I see that it's very good if you are conscious of your own fears.
Yeah.
But then also, if you are this kind of person who is a worrier, not a warrior, worrier. You're worried about everything.
Yeah.
And that is where I really see that it serves no function to be so fearful that you always make a obstacle course of your life. You always have these fears you need to overcome. And it's kind of, why do you, and you create it yourself. Like when you constantly just focus on this, that this might go wrong and this might go wrong. And it was actually I remember now a small clip from some podcast I saw the other day. And it was this guy saying that, why don't we ever obsess about how great things could go? Like maybe my company will make too much money. Maybe I will help too many people. Shit, what? Why aren't our fears like that?
Oh, we have so many viewers. What will we do
I know.
with all these viewers?
I have so many beautiful women who want me.
They're ripping me apart.
But yes, fears. I'm thinking about some practical fears I have had. I mean, definitely I have been afraid to be authentic and really, say what I think, especially I'm thinking about my relationships where I was very afraid to be abandoned. That is a very interesting topic in itself, relationships and all these abandonment issues and all those things. But what it really did for me was that I would not be authentic. I would not actually say what I thought about things, because I was so afraid that I will be abandoned. And that is something that has been quite tricky to overcome. I feel that I have been looping a few of my relationships. I mean, I like you girls, women, very lovely. But from my perspective, a few of my relationships have been complete copies of each other, because it's just the same lesson that I've had to learn. So I've been looping a little bit on that. But now, the last few years, really diving into this, letting go of the fear of being judged. And just whatever, like if I'm just me, and if I have good intentions, and if I'm not out to hurt anyone, if people still are offended by me, I'm quite okay with that. And I actually find it more interesting nowadays that because when I was younger, I would again it had to do a lot with abandonment. I did not want to be abandoned. And actually when I was a kid and a teenager, I would unconsciously choose to be outside of the group and
Yeah.
outside of the norm because I was afraid that they would not accept me.
Yeah.
So instead of that being a possibility, I was so afraid of them kicking me out that instead I would choose not to be part of it. And I mean, if this is not living through fear, then what the hell is? So, you know, nowadays I speak my mind, and if someone don't like me, then I mean, that's just good. Then we know, okay, we don't really work together, and that's just good. Then we know that. We don't need to force it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it is. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and that is a very this kind of fear to not be accepted and and that's how we then, you know, neutralize it by okay, we're not giving the world the possibility to shut us out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We're shutting ourselves out.
We're shutting ourselves out. Yeah.
I wanted to go back first a little bit to what you said about what you said just before this relationship and abandonment and such things. You spoke about this, that we paint the devil on the wall.
Yeah.
Now this is a little bit going deeper into my own experience with self-development and self-awareness, but I feel that it's a good moment to bring it up. I had a part in me, or I was like this, you know, that if I didn't hear from somebody for a while, or they were late or something like that, I started to imagine that, okay, maybe something has happened, and it was quite often, you know, painting the devil on the wall that you know, some tragedy or some bad thing has happened now, you know, these kind of things.
Exactly.
Yeah, and this is very much a fear, of course, and also, you know, a bit of stupidity also in a sense, but yeah. So at this time, in my own process of self-development and self-awareness, I came upon this idea that we are a collection of little I's with one essence, or if one chooses to use the word personality, one can also use that. That is who we are, and then around this, from about 6 years old forward, we start to build little I's on top, like different kinds of personalities for different kinds of situations. And this idea came to me, and I was thinking that, okay, so following this idea, what if this part that is worried, that is, you know, painting the devil on the wall and thinking that, okay, something has happened, what if that is a little I, let's say. So and you know, I had nothing to lose, and I was curious to see what will happen. So I decided, okay, well, let's say that it's a little I, for the sake of the experiment. And I wrote it down in my book. This is my own little, you know, little black book. It's silver actually, but yeah.
I have a disco book.
And I wrote down there that okay, so a little I, its name is Tragedy. I thought it fitting. Tragedy. And I thought it fitting, and then I wrote about from where it comes, and I wrote that past morbid experiences, something like that. Then at that time I believed in positive and negative. Now I just see energy, but at that time I wrote also about what is positive about this, what is negative about this. Yeah. And then it happened. Tragedy came, and I was completely enveloped in this fear and worry and such things. But then somewhere from the back of my mind, I just pushed very, very like in a whisper, in a small whisper. I just like said to myself like, tragedy? Like a question mark. And then you might think that, okay, well, oh, the guy is talking to himself. Now there's some schizophrenic scene is coming here. But something very strange happened. Can you guess what happened?
I have no clue.
I suddenly became very shy. And I had this thought, what? Can you see me? And then I like a little bit more bravely from behind, I said like, yes, I can see you. And poof, it disappeared. And then a few weeks later, 2 weeks maybe, it happened again. And this time I was like more firm, tragedy. And poof, never came again. After that I started to look into more of these little eyes, and I found that all people have at least 30 of them, and they are functioning in layers. So when we lift one layer away, we find others. I had, for instance, one I named Joker, which was as soon as I was going to make a breakthrough of something. You know, I was just taking that step over the threshold. I made a joke and fell back down on my ass. Had to start again. And then further I realized that all these little eyes are there to protect us in different ways. You know, we speak in a certain way with for instance parents. We speak in another way with friends or with a girlfriend or boyfriend or you know, whatever. With a horse we might have.
Sorry, a horse with 4 legs now, or yeah, never mind.
Let's not go back there. I just had to. Yeah. You know, but we change our voice. We change our approach. Our thought patterns change. And we build these little eyes in us to deal with different kinds of situations. And they are all thought-based, and even if they are there to protect us, you know, one little eye can be a strong person who protects, you know, the crybaby in the background or something like this. You know, they both are 2 little eyes, and they're like interacting with each other. But each little eye is thinking that they are the real I, they are the real person. So they don't see each other, and we don't see them as separate entities or parts of personality in us. Instead, we think that, okay, now I feel like this, and then the next day I'm completely a different person. And it's still, you know, this is me. And this is same thing also, for instance, you spoke about disappointment at some point. If a person makes a promise, one little eye makes a promise, when you're supposed to then fulfill that promise, another little eye is sitting behind the wheel, and that little eye has no idea, no recollection of this promise. And that's why it doesn't happen. It doesn't. If the the little I who had made the promise was in charge, then maybe that promise would be fulfilled. But because we are switching between these, like, you know, like you switch underwear basically, you know.
I somehow get the sensation that it is somehow, you know, a kind of internal dialogue with yourself, with all your different parts. And also what comes to my mind very strongly now when you speak about this is that, you know, the emotions that we experience, in that moment when I experience that emotion, I am that emotion. But oh fuck! I actually lost my train of thought now.
But I can say you can say when you get it back. But I wanted to say about that also still, that all these little eyes, they do have emotions, but they are thought-based emotions. And I used this word before, that emotions and thought-based emotions are two different things, because thought-based emotions are something that we project upon ourselves, because that's how what we're supposed. We think that is what we're supposed to feel, or that is what you know. And if another little I would be in the cockpit, it would be a completely different emotion. Another thing, since this is an episode of fear, and since I now went this deep, I can I can go not all the way, but I can go further.
There is never any button. There is no button. You can always go deeper.
Yeah. This is going quite deep. I think many people will be like, whoa. But yeah, well, in any case, all these little eyes, they are all fed by one thing. And what is that?
They want to survive.
Yes, but they are fed by one thing,
They
one
are
specific
fed
thing.
by
What is the topic for today?
fear. It
Yes.
is fear. Do you think they're fed by fear?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, in different kinds and in different forms, they are all fed by fear. They are there to preserve us, to protect us, to these kind of things.
Yeah, now I understand how you. But because earlier when you said that you I can't quote you, but you kind of accepted you saw your was it anxiety or whatever it was. But like for me, what that is, it is that you are validating yourself, and obviously when you validate that, for me, what you're talking about, these eyes, I feel that they are emotions. It's kind of simplified for me in a way. But when I validate myself, then I don't feed it anymore. Which is, if I have the resistance, I'm fearing it. Then I definitely, then it kind of grows. So it makes sense to me now. It does.
And this is then why we have so many fears, because all of these little eyes need to be fed. It's like you have a group of sheep that are all going and we have to feed them, or birds, a flock of birds, or something. So we're full of these. And when we start to work on ourselves, if we choose that path to become self-aware, then that leads us to this, that we are actually fragmented into these little eyes. And as I said, everybody has at least 30 of them. We can define it in different ways. We can look at it in different ways. But we are all ogres. We have layers.
Yeah, for sure.
And there are very few donkeys. Donkeys don't have layers, as Eddie Murphy told us in Shrek.
I haven't seen Shrek. I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm completely clueless.
This was from that.
Okay. I should probably see this movie.
That's why I said ogres.
Yeah.
Shrek is an ogre.
Yeah, that's true.
And he describes himself as an onion.
The onion is such a beautiful metaphor for so many things. Layers and layers and layers. Okay, but actually now I remember what I was.
And when we peel it, we cry.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Emotions. I believe that emotions, they do definitely have something they want to communicate to us, and it kind of goes together how you are speaking about your eyes. I believe they also have something they want to communicate to us, and I mean we need to listen, and we need to not be overwhelmed by it, because I mean often if we get overwhelmed by it, then we get fearful, and then we want to do something to distract us from it. In the absolute most cases, there is nothing to be afraid of. It is just an emotion, and it has something to tell you. And obviously if you can't stop there, and you start behaving, or you start acting out or so on, then you definitely see that this behavior, there is a reason for it. There always is a reason for all behavior. But you know, I feel like for me, I'm at that stage now where I really like, I don't need to react to things anymore. I can more observe myself and really like listen to what is happening, like what is this saying to me. And yeah, quite rarely do I get overwhelmed. But it's also interesting to have these experiences. Like last week I had one experience when I was speaking with this woman about very, very vulnerable things for me. And she's so pushy. She's curious and she's interested. Oh, but I just feel like I'm getting more and more pushed into this corner. And there was one thing she said that I also found a little bit judgmental, and I noticed immediately that, oh fuck, now I start to close up. Now I don't want to speak about this anymore. And she was pushing, and I was trying to tell her things, and then I'm noticing the resistance, and then I'm just like, no, fuck this. I don't, like, we need to chill. I need to, like, this is very uncomfortable for me, and I just need this space. I need to just feel this uncomfortable and kind of dive into what this fear is, why I don't want to go there. And once I said that, you know, again, it just released that tension. And also, but that was interesting because I noticed at the same time this kind of meta fear, because I've been conditioned in many relationships. If I tell this person now basically to shut up, but even if I do it in a nice way, that I'm doing it through like, you know, I feel a little bit anxious and I feel like closing up, and can we please be a little bit slower with this? Even if I say like that, I have had those experiences where the other person gets angry at me for you know, not being willing to go there. So now I notice that part of me why I'm closing up like this is because I fear that this person will get angry at me and will, you know, abandon me. So also just in that situation with this woman, I just told her that, you know, I noticed that I've been conditioned. I'm so afraid that if I tell you now to shut up, you're gonna be angry with me. And it was so interesting. And she was just, oh, that's so interesting, like super great that you tell me. And it's just like, oh wow, I feel so validated. This is so much better than actually having that experience, you know, of being judged. And yeah, because then I just close up. Then I definitely just close up.
And there your fears again, there they come from the past.
Exactly. Yeah, they do. Yeah.
But if we then stay present, then we can see these things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And staying present is actually like, you know, what do I feel right now? Just say, if it is fear that I feel, then don't be afraid to say that it is fear I feel. Or like, if I feel that this person is too pushy now, then like, oh, I feel this pushiness from you, and like, can we, you know, make a little bit space or softness or something? Just say whatever, like. And again, if the other person chooses to take offense, I mean,
I understand very much where you're coming from. I would say, in my own experience, though, that these emotions, what you're talking about now, I would call thought-based. Emotions.
I don't really agree with you with these thought-based emotions and so, because emotions and thoughts, they feed each other. It doesn't really, for me, it doesn't matter if it is based on a true emotion, because a true emotion will also trigger thoughts for me. And then you have the loop of thought and emotion, which, you know, they strengthen each other. So if it is starting from a thought or from an emotion, for me it doesn't matter. It does not matter. The important thing for me is, you know, kind of to stop that cycle where I'm in my internal monologue, I am painting the devil on the wall, because that is what has been happening. Yeah, but it's interesting, and I would like to understand your thought-based emotion, but I think that's for another episode in that case, or a private discussion.
No, I can say it very simply like this, that I follow such a path that we have 3 specific centers in our body. We have a thinking center, we have a moving center, and an emotional center. Now, the thing with these are that they are different speeds. You can take, for instance, just like a banal example, like having a cup of coffee, and you drink this coffee, and it's too hot. So the first thing, you know, you feel that it's too hot. The next thing, you push the cup away. The next thing is your thought, it was too hot, I shouldn't have drunk it. So this is how the process works. But in reality then, and if we look at a microcosmic level, there is a very long difference, a very big difference in speeds between these three centers. And this is something that I experienced when I did a very strange dance, and that was brought on by one of my gurus, who sadly is not alive anymore. But it was a very, very strange thing. And in this one you are supposed to dance like in a line, and so then I looked at the person who was in front of me, and I did the same thing. And I was always too late, and I could never get anything. I was just like focusing, and then the next time I did this, okay, now I'm just gonna do it. So I just did it, and then I was like completely like with my muscles hurting after, and then I was just suddenly I just realized that I'm so stupid. Why didn't I just work from the emotional center?
Yeah.
That's the fastest one, and it's the only one that is in the present. And then I did that, and not only did I manage to do that dance, I could see in what kind of form I was dancing, in a kind of like almost experience like you would see yourself from outside. Like I could observe myself objectively, and I was no longer just subjective.
Okay.
And then we had a meeting afterwards where everybody told about their experiences, and there was one guy there who said he was very physical. He did capoeira and all kinds of things, and he was just so frustrated. He said, he's been here now for 8 years. Can't you show these moves like properly so that I can understand them? I just don't understand them. You just show them so quickly, and then we're supposed to do them, and I can't. And he was just so frustrated. And then it was my turn to talk, and I said that I feel like such an idiot. I have this information about these three centers. I know that they are different speeds, and still, what I do first is I go with my thoughts, trying to understand what is this person doing, and I'm always late, and I never get anything. I'm just like all the time like this. Then after that, I go to my physical center, and I just like just with muscles and everything. And I managed to do some things, but I'm like hurting in the body afterwards. Then I just realized that, okay, well, why didn't I work through the emotional center? So I just threw a seed and let it grow through my whole body. Then it activates the moving center, which is in the spinal column, and that then activates also the head. So it's like a tree growing through us. Then it functions in such a way, and the emotional center is so much faster than the thinking center.
Oh, yes.
Now I'm not talking about the processing speed of the brain, but I'm talking about these centers and how we use thoughts. This is also why for instance, when I work with somebody, I say that put your thoughts into your breath, put your thoughts behind your solar plexus, put it down there. And this is to explain a little bit clearer, perhaps, what this thought-based emotions contra emotions mean.
Didn't explain it for me. It was a nice story, but did not explain. Not convinced. I'm sorry. I don't agree still.
You can agree to disagree.
We
can agree to disagree.
Definitely.
But we've talked about before. We are different types. And you perceive things in one way, and I perceive them in another way. And you are a more hands-on on person, whereas I go very deep into this self-awareness and silence and such things, and that is also why our conversations are so interesting because we come from two so different sides.
Yeah,
And both are needed. But yeah, this was my experience with this, and maybe somebody understood it.
I hope someone understood. I mean, I do understand what you said. I just don't really agree with it. To some parts, I agree with it, but still, thought-based emotions. I don't buy that concept. I don't.
I will explain it to you more.
Yeah, maybe.
We will see. Maybe by the end of the season, you will get it.
Or maybe I have a fear of understanding this.
Or maybe I will be like, thought-based emotions. What was I thinking? Doesn't exist.
Everything is possible. I'm definitely sure of this.
Yeah, we need to always be open to everything, and then to just listen to our own inner intuition.
We do.
This is important. How do we feel? Anything else we want to say today?
I feel kind of empty with this. I feel like I've spoken to my best ability and knowledge about fear. It would be possible to go deeper in it. Definitely.
Yeah. Definitely.
It would always. But I have a feeling that we are more or less done.
Yeah.
Mm.
I feel the same. So you've been watching RnB. I'm Ronnie.
And I'm Beni.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you.